So Leo and I are going to present to you about Chapter 2, titled Embedding ABC Learning Design into Program Development at UCL. And it's a case study from the book, From Grassroots Innovation to Institutional Strategy. Well, it shows ABC at scale, its usefulness over time, despite changing fashions, and the fact that it's embedded in quality systems. So the book showcases diverse ABC implementations, as you will see from our speakers and authors to follow. And this particular chapter demonstrates how ABC is used at program and not just module level, how it has sustained itself, how it can be used across multiple years within a program, and it's been integrated into our formal QA processes at UCL. So you can see where ABC has been used for both the design of new programs as well as the review and renewal of existing ones. And then for context as to what our institution is like, University College London has around 50,000 students. So it's one of the larger universities in the UK. It's got around 100 departments, give or take. No one knows a precise count for it. And then 11 faculties. The culture within UCL is pretty decentralized and discipline-led. It's possibly because, like London, it's sort of absorbed other institutions that have brought their own cultures with them. And if you belong to an institution that has absorbed other organizations, you'll probably know that it's very difficult to get the newbies to change their culture just to suit you simply because they've joined with you. So UCL has a lot of different discipline-led cultures and other cultures as well. There's a centralized program approval and validation process. However, curriculum design historically has been reliant on individual academics to kind of do their own thing, and it's therefore been a bit hit and miss because the focus of those academics is typically on the discipline and not necessarily around all the bits and pieces that actually affect student experience throughout their journey on the program. So there's been little design support at UCL for the most part, and kind of the way in which ABC got absorbed into improving processes is part of the story we tell in Chapter 2. So from grassroots to official strategy, ABC began to gain institutional traction from its fledgling start as a voluntary informal workshops where people were invited essentially to be guinea pigs back in the day. And then it aligned itself with UCL priorities, which at that point was the connected curriculum. And then gradually, as the switch to trying to think of a program as a holistic thing rather than being always focused on modules, it was brought into the whole program approval support system. So ABC storyboards can be used to evidence alignment with institutional initiatives, such as the connected curriculum initially, and lately at UCL we have something called the curriculum design principles, and you can map where your curriculum design principles are being evidenced. And now I'll hand over to Leo.
Thank you. So this sort of brings us to the stage of our story where the team that we work in, the program development unit, was established in 2021. So prior to that, Clive, Natasha, Karen and I had a digital education advisory team based in the digital education department. We moved into UCL's academic development center, the Arena Center, and formed a new program development unit, which was led at the time by Simon Walker. And the formation of this was to provide inception to launch support for new programs and modules, and also to support review and redesign of existing ones. And so through this, it was hoped that we'd be able to start addressing some of the institutional and program level concerns that it was felt there hadn't traditionally been enough support for. So there has been always a kind of perennially a sense that students are not entirely satisfied around assessment and feedback, and that's always a kind of an ongoing topic. But at UCL as well, there's been a growing concern around the sense that programs are made up of individual modules that don't always feel to students like they cohere as a program, and so students were sometimes saying that it felt a bit fragmented, It felt a bit like these module leads who teach these things actually kind of communicate with each other about what they're doing to understand the bigger picture as we experience it. And so ABC, although it had been designed originally to support development of modules, we found was able to actually be a really vital link in this chain, which you can see represented here. It's quite small writing, but this is kind of the kind of process map of what people are doing when they're developing a brand new program, and how the different sort of interventions that we as a program development unit can offer to support them. So when they might start out with that they're doing a brand new program, and yeah, Natasha calls them our pedagogic interventions, which I love. And so that when they're just starting out, they would have a planning meeting with us to talk about what kind of support we can offer them and things that they might want to start thinking about. They need to go through a finance business case stage where they're convincing the institution that this could be a viable program before they get more into the nitty-gritty of pedagogically what are they trying to do with it. Then they would do a sort of initial program design workshop with us. Then they're doing the big picture, what we call the paperwork, although none of this is really on paper anymore. It's now all in a new online system that we're all still figuring out how it works. And as part of figuring that out, they might well want to do a workshop with us about crafting effective learning outcomes, which was brilliantly executed by Karen. And then when they've done the paperwork, got that ready to kind of go to approval, we can offer them a session with student reviewers who are not necessarily their students from their discipline, so much as students who are trained in reviewing the kind of program proposals and looking at it from a student perspective. They can then do potentially further program design work with us, or then move into the ABC. Somebody is not muted. If you could please mute, thank you. And so the wonderful thing of doing the ABC Learning Design Workshop with a program group is that, unlike in the traditional workshop, which was wonderfully short at 90 minutes, you might need a bit longer for this program level version, but you get the different modules on the program into the room together. They're all designing at the same time, but then they're actually able to do what's called the promenade, or the kind of show and tell. I also describe it as where they go around the room and talk about this is what we're doing, this is why we've designed it this way, and they start to see all kinds of connections forming between what they're doing in their own module and what somebody else is doing, and having discussions about how these different modules are all feeding into those program level learning outcomes as well. And then they can also do some assessment mapping processes when they're reviewing existing programs. Any of these activities might come into play as the thing that's going to be most helpful for them. And so really, we wanted to tell you a bit about how ABC has become a key part of our institutional approach at UCL, because we felt like actually we are another case study. Just like ABC has been adapted for the local context, it's also our case. Even though ABC has begun in our local context, it really has evolved and found its niche within a kind of an ecosystem of pedagogic interventions that we offer. And we hope that's been interesting for you. Please read chapter 2 to know more.